it was so great that you didn't need two of them.
Yeah.
And once you bought one, you were set for 10 years. Like you
Yes.
didn't need to buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, you saturate the market of people who want the InstaPot because it's not a Keurig where you're going to sell them the Keurig machine and then they got to continually buy the pods.
Yeah.
Or you buy the fancy razor, you got to keep buying the razor blades.
Mm-hmm.
It was you bought the pot, you're done.
Maybe a couple cookbooks.
Yeah, but the
that was
cookbooks probably
it.
weren't made by InstaPot. They were
Yeah.
probably made by somebody else. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you bought the InstaPot, you're done.
Welcome to Married to the Startup. I'm Alicia McKenzie, a wellness entrepreneur and digital creator. Alongside me is my amazing husband, George, the CEO who's always ready for a new challenge. We've been navigating marriage and running startups for over a decade, and we're here to share the real, unfiltered journey with you. Join us for insights and candid conversations about integrating love, family, and entrepreneurship. This is Married to the Startup, where every day is a new adventure. Welcome to another episode of Married to the Startup. I am your host, Alicia McKenzie, and this other guy is annoying the shit out of me right now.
Me llamo Jorge. Me gusta la escuela. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Este casa de mi tía.
Sweet
Okay.
Lord.
All right, here we
All
go.
right, we are going to get through this episode
Maybe.
kicking and screaming.
It's possible.
Kicking and screaming.
Okay.
It's actually a really exciting story.
I don't know if it's an exciting story, but it's an interesting story.
It is an interesting story. Husband and wife founders.
Yeah, so it's another one in our
Mini expose.
expose. That's the word I was looking for.
Little breakdown
Yeah, let's do it.
of what went wrong.
Yeah.
What went right.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in between.
And companies, stop being polite. Stop being real. All right.
It's a hard day right now.
It is.
Robert Wang, his wife Tracy, both worked full time.
Yes.
For Nortel Network.
One worked for Nortel?
No, they both worked for Nortel.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Nortel.
Why do I remember this company?
They were just an IT company, and they were also like they made cell phones and stuff.
Okay.
They had plans around that. They were a big company.
Were they?
They had offices around here too.
This company,
Nortel Networks,
yeah, I feel like I know it for some reason.
I think they had offices on the Dulles Toll Road, so you've probably seen them before.
Okay.
Seen commercials.
But I guess husband and wife both working full time. They had small children, and the age-old question that drives everybody crazy: What's for dinner? What is for dinner?
Yeah, and I think like almost every founder's story, it starts with a problem statement that resonates. Like Liz, the last founder that we interviewed, like her aha moment of her creation, was from a problem in her own household. And it's similar here where they're both working adults, they have children, and they're like, how do we make home-cooked meals?
Yeah.
When we both get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, running the kids around, and no one has time to meal prep.
Absolutely.
And do these things.
Yeah. So fixing dinner, that was actually healthy.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to eat out a lot, right? I guess
eat out all the time. You get tired of it.
Yeah. You get tired of eating out. I think I just get tired of food because I'm so annoyed with having to figure out what the hell we're going to eat every night.
Yeah. Well, I think our biggest problem, not to lift the hood or too much on our family dynamic, is that everyone has such varied tastes of what they want to eat. It is virtually impossible to satiate everybody with one order from an outside restaurant.
I think I
want Shake Shack. I hate Shake Shack. I want Five Guys. I want ramen. I hate ramen. It's just nonstop. So it's very hard to find anything that pleases everyone. It's
the walk of shame when you go to the door to pick up one order and then another DoorDash driver comes in with a second order. And it's like, you just
I've always thought about that double dash thing, but I'm like, that just means food's waiting for the other guy to come pick it up after he picks up the other food.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, I'm sure there's a solution in here. Maybe be a better parent and make them eat. I don't know.
Or be a worse parent and make them all eat the same thing.
Yeah.
And somebody will always be miserable.
Yeah. Well, my solution, and I think it's working out fairly well, is we just, like the one who's very picky, we just make him the same thing every night.
Here is your bowl of cereal.
Yeah. Here's your cereal. Here's your nuggets and fries. Here's your mac and cheese. Go to town.
Okay. Back to the story.
All right. What story?
Back to the story. Over 18 months, he used his PhD in science and his background in artificial intelligence and developed a product. He developed a solution for the problem him and his wife were having.
Didn't he also get laid off, or was that after this?
I think that was after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Yeah. I feel like that was after.
right. So he built a solution to his problem, which
Mhm.
was
InstaPot.
InstaPot. Yes.
InstaPot.
Yeah. So he made a pressure cooker.
Is that what InstaPot is?
Yeah.
So it cooks food under pressure.
Under steam pressure. Yeah.
Interesting. And he created it and launched it in 2010, right? So no VC money.
Yep. Started up at home, used his own degree, and I guess he outsourced the construction of it
Mhm.
to somewhere.
Somewhere where I think
Yeah,
where a
China
majority of
probably. Yeah,
projects
and
or products are made.
got it prototyped, got it made,
Mhm.
and was selling it in a direct to consumer model via
Via.
Amazon,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting. I mean, I love the approach. If bootstrapped it, solved the problem, right? Didn't he got an MVP going? Used his own capital, no outside capital,
Mhm.
and no marketing budget. It was like the early days of probably direct to consumer via
Word of
Amazon.
mouth.
Yeah, his philosophy was word of mouth marketing. So I'm not going to spend money on marketing and advertising. It was all just word of mouth, direct to consumer.
Which if you look at the time frame, right, 2010 to 2015, that was prior to Instagram and the rise of the modern day influencer and all these social media campaigns. That didn't exist back then.
Right.
So it truly was word of mouth marketing.
Yeah, and I think he was moderately successful
Mhm.
during those times.
Yes. So successful that in October on Amazon Prime Day, in October of 2016.
2016. So about what, 6 years of operating
Mhm.
until his aha moment happened.
Yeah, not why do I keep saying
I don't know,
October?
October. Is that
That's like
is that Prime Day?
is it?
I don't know when Amazon Prime Day is. I think there's 100 of them. It
Watch
feels
it
like there's constant Amazon Prime days.
watch it be October and it's just like
It's
burned into my
yeah,
head.
Bezos burned it in your brain.
But 2016 on Amazon Prime Day, InstaPot debuted at #1, at the #1 best-selling non-Amazon product in the US.
Big, right? For a company that is owned by a husband and wife duo.
Yeah.
He developed the technology himself,
Mhm.
started the company by himself, no
Mhm.
outside capital. I mean, it's great.
Yes.
Amazing American success story.
So over 215,000 units were sold that day.
Wow.
And then again in 2017 on Prime Day, it was #1 again, with over 300,000 units sold that day.
And all of this is happening with his continual word of mouth marketing campaign. Right?
Yeah.
It's just Amazon reviews, people talking about. And I was reading. I don't know if he did it during that time, but he would personally read every review.
Yes.
And he made, I guess, a second version of the product. I don't remember when, but it was based on customer feedback where they were saying, I wish there was a way to self-clean this thing.
Or self-clean bottles. Somebody had mentioned that they
Yeah.
wanted to clean bottles.
Yeah.
So he added a
Baby
sanitizing
bottles.
feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sanitizing. So you can just, pop the bottles in there and sanitize it.
Which, again, as we've stated in previous podcasts, that feedback from the consumer is so important, whether it's good or bad.
Right.
Right. I think a lot of times founders want to glaze over the fact that somebody didn't like your product, but maybe approach it with a curiosity mindset and say, okay, he didn't like my product. What could I do to make it better?
Mm-hmm. Number one bestseller in
Then
2016 and 2017.
in 2016 and 2017, and in 2018, they broke their own record, selling over 300,000 units in 36 hours.
Wow. So on those days, what's the total there? Almost 1 million units?
How much is an Instapot?
No idea.
We
We are not on the Instapot craze.
We are
And
not.
And then I don't know what the gross margins are, but it's a good. I mean, obviously, it's a profitable empire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he didn't believe in investing in marketing because he wanted to put the money back into the company
Mm-hmm.
and keep investing in innovation.
Yeah.
Right. So he really relied on organic sharing, a lot of word of mouth, making changes when he could, if they made sense. And then he kind of grew this community, almost seemed kind of cult-like. They referred to themselves as potheads.
Yeah, and this is pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic.
Okay, yeah.
Pre-pandemic, they had Facebook groups with millions of followers,
Posting
inst
recipes.
posting recipes, Instapot cookbooks, and a really devoted online community. So Instapot wasn't just a product, I guess it was kind of like an identity.
Okay, so number one bestseller again in 2018.
Was it?
Is that what you said? 2016, 2017, then 2018 they broke the record,
Yeah,
sold
they
again.
broke their own record.
Right. So then what happens to every company that's rapidly growing sales?
Sell.
Yes, along comes private equity.
Yes.
Right. I'm sure they, reached out. Somehow they got connected, and it was, you've got this rapidly growing business that's
Mhm.
probably extremely profitable,
Yes.
and we would like to acquire it.
Of course.
So in 2019, Instant Brands, which was the maker of the Instapot,
Mhm.
merged, aka was acquired by a US based company called Corel Brands. So you might know them
Yeah, I
from
think
some of their other products like
Corel
Pyrex,
they had Pyrex, but they also do dish plates.
Corningware. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they are owned by a private equity company called Cornell Capital.
Mhm.
So, you know, all
This
is
is
right in the world, and they acquired it for like 615 million.
yes.
So incredibly lucrative, I'm sure, a lucrative event for Mr. Wang. And like all private equity ventures, I'm sure there was probably some rollover. So he maintained an equity stake. So it wasn't like he cashed out 615 million. I'm sure it may have been dead on the business, whatever. So he got a nice check. And but shortly thereafter, a bit of rain on the parade. So Mr. Wang got he stayed on with the company, but kind of got relegated to like a chief innovation officer
Okay,
kind of
so he was
role.
no longer the CEO?
No, so now Instapot was like a brand under the umbrella, like Pyrex or Corningware,
Okay.
and he was kind of relegated to just doing R&D and being in that sphere, and someone else was CEO, someone else was marketing.
Okay.
So it's really what oftentimes happens with private equity is you get that check, but then the brand identity changes, right? You're part of this bigger thing. You're just a cog in the wheel,
Yes.
and it's really hard, especially when a company is built bootstrapped and it's really a strong community around it. It's
Mhm.
hard to maintain those things when you're now big and part of something else.
Okay. Did Instapot have any other products at the
They
time?
did not.
S
Instapot was it.
That seems like an ambitious acquisition for a private equity company.
Yeah, and I think the buyer's remorse set in shortly thereafter. And, I think there were a couple lawsuits that have happened post where they were concluding they had overpaid for the company by like almost 275 million or 273 million, I think is the number that was thrown out.
Mhm.
So, acquisition happens, 615 million. Shortly thereafter, buyer's remorse sets in. Hey, we spent too much money. And then by 2023, there was a bankruptcy filing.
Okay.
So when the bankruptcy filing and some of the lawsuits, there came out that Cornell allegedly lied to lenders. They loaded up Instapot with debt and ultimately pushed the company into insolvency, which it happens. It's not the standard PE playbooks. I don't want to run every PE through, but you can see this theme has come up a couple times
Yeah.
in conversations we have on these exposés where the private equity group will raise funds and then they go purchase a company.
Mhm.
And the goal being, hey, if we purchase 4 or 5 companies, roll them all together, we get to truly scale the business. We have infrastructure costs, which now can be, isolated or consolidated into one bucket. And, you don't need 50 HR people. You only need, 5. And you start cutting and then you find commonalities and economies of scale and some of the back office processes. And maybe there's some customer bleed over where you can cross sell, upsell. And that's the thesis. And then, they put all the money in
But I think there was a lot that happened in between acquisition time
and the bankruptcy.
and the bankruptcy.
Yeah. And I think that what I was going for there is the playbook is, you hear this big number, 615 million. And it's not like the private equity company who has $1 billion in, their capital raise in their fund. They just throw out 615 million, and that 615 million is sitting there as, the investment in that company.
Mm-hmm.
So they immediately started levering up the company. So they
Yes.
say, oh, we spent 615 million for this company. It's worth 615 million. We're going to take out a loan, and they start to get banks involved, and they start to leverage the business. And in doing so, they rack up about $450 million in debt, most of which they pay back to themselves.
Yes.
Right.
And
So,
that's what really frustrates me with private
well,
equity.
it happens a lot, right? So, I'll say commonalities. Let's say if it's an acquisition, we'll use 100 million because it's an easy number.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to buy you for $100 million,
Yes.
and we want you to roll over 20%.
Yes.
Right. So now it's 20% you roll back in. So it's really 80 million from the private equity company.
Mm-hmm.
And what they really do is then they'll go and get a bank to go in on it with them to lever the business up. So now maybe it's a 50-50 rollover, 50-50 acquisition, and post acquisition, they take out the loan and they get lines of credit and everything. And from a cash outlay, the private equity company purchased that company for 100 million. They
Yes.
rolled over 20 million from the previous owner. So 80 million was left. They split that with the lender. So now it's really only 40 million to buy the company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes it's less. I'm just using
Yeah.
easy
Yeah. Yeah.
numbers, but when they lever up the business and they pull their money out, now they have a much lower, capital cost to the
Mm-hmm.
company. Their portfolio, their investment fund is still
Ultimately lessening their risk.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a standard play, but you can see here, if you overpay for the company by a lot of like 250 million on a $650 million buy, and you
Yeah.
lever the business 450 million, now in actuality, there's like, a 50 to $100 million shortfall.
I understand that hindsight is 2020, but I don't know who would go into this deal saying this company has one product and one product only. And 3 years of wild sales on Amazon and a cult-like community equates to a $615 million
Yeah.
acquisition.
I'm sure
And I mean, I get
it's a
that,
multiple of either revenue or EBITDA. So
yeah,
they
we
found
don't have those revenue numbers,
right.
and any company is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Yes, that's the standard response. But
Yeah. So I think,
from my vantage point,
yeah.
it does not look like a good deal.
No, and like from the numbers here, like this is the private equity playbook as its worst. So they forced Instagram. I mean Instagram. I keep saying Instagram. Instapot, Instabrands.
Instacart is what keeps
Yeah,
popping in my head.
they forced them. So let's say after the acquisition, they forced them to take out a $450 million term loan in 2021.
Hmm.
Then they used that loan plus another 100 million that was on the balance sheet to pay back in dividend Cornell Capital and its co-investors. So about
What year?
350 million goes out of that 450 $500 million worth of cash. 350 goes back out to them.
Yeah.
So, they essentially, just kind of took this profitable business and loaded it up with debt, stripped out all the cash, and kind of left it as a sinking ship.
Yes. What year was the acquisition?
Acquisition is 2019. So by 2 years later, they had sucked it out.
Okay. So I think one thing that's really that we should point out is that 2020 happened, right? During all of this.
COVID.
So it's COVID.
But COVID was a big jump off point
Absolutely.
and that's probably how they accrued this $100 million of cash on the balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Is during COVID, everybody was home, everybody was cooking. Instapots were everywhere. There was the Instagram stories, everyone posting about it, everybody was buying it.
Yeah. So
It
the
was
COVID
a
year,
second coming.
yeah, it was great. But then in 2021, there were a lot of factors that played into the sales cratering, right?
Yes.
Asian ports were closed by COVID.
Correct.
And then there was a lot of bad weather in the seas. They couldn't get their shipments in.
I think there
And
was some product quality control issues that started happening.
that was going to be my next. And in 2020, there was a lot of safety issues raised with the Instapot. And actually, that is what kept me from buying one. Right. There was a story on social media that this Instapot had exploded in somebody's house. And I'm like, okay, well, we like to do a lot of 1% things. So maybe let's not invite that into our lives.
Yeah, and I think it's outside of the private equity, the financial mismanagement aspect.
Mm-hmm.
There were some fundamental issues with the business, I think.
Yes.
And if you look at it, it's kind of like what we talked about with Peloton. Like Instapot had one product.
Yes. And it was a really good
and it was a
one.
great product. It was so great that you didn't need two of them.
Yeah.
And once you bought one, you were set for 10 years. Like you
Yes.
didn't need to buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, you saturate the market of people who want the Instapot because it's not a Keurig where you're going to sell them the Keurig machine and then they got to continually buy the pods.
Yeah.
Or you buy the fancy razor, you got to keep buying the razor blades.
Mm-hmm.
It was you bought the pot, you're done.
Maybe a couple cookbooks.
Yeah, but the
And that was
cookbooks probably
it.
weren't made by Instapot. They were
Yeah.
probably made by somebody else. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you bought the Instapot, you're done.
Mhm.
So he made a great product that was superior in quality to his own detriment. That
Yes.
now you didn't have a lot of repeat sales. You didn't have upsells. There was nothing else to sell them.
Yeah. So it looks like at the peak of sales, it was $758 million in product being sold,
Okay.
right? That was the peak. And then by 2022, sales had plummeted almost 50%,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody that wanted an Instapot got an Instapot, and then that was it.
Didn't it sounds very eerily similar to Peloton? Right?
Yes.
And they made great products that served a niche, and COVID really amplified
Mm-hmm.
and puffed up some of the sales numbers.
Yeah.
And there was really no repeat buyers. There was nothing else to buy.
And then by
and they tried, I think Cornell, when they bought Instapot, they tried to grow the brand. I think they were making Insta whatevers. They were making other things with the same kind of labeling and trying to push in, cross sell, upsell.
But it's not the iPhone.
It's not the iPhone. And they, they had bought this cult like thing with the potheads, and it just didn't really. There was no juice left to squeeze out of that.
2023 sales fell again by 22%.
Go figure.
Right, the seventh straight quarter of a decline in sales.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it hit the peak, and then it just is going down like a sinking ship.
Yeah.
Right, and not to mention your sales have plummeted, but you're also trying to service a large amount of debt at 8 to 10% interest.
Right, and that's what happens when the borrowing is great and you're on a variable note, which most people do. You get this loan and or line of credit that is maybe locked for a year or two, but but it's variable. And as the interest rates rise, your debt payments rise to a point where you can't afford it anymore. Where maybe you're profitable when your debt is, if you have $450 million in debt, you're profitable when the debt's at 6%. When the debt goes to 8%,
or
now
10%.
you're no longer profitable.
Yeah.
Or it goes to 10, you're even worse. And if you're unprofitable, you can't repay your debt terms, then it's just a spiraling effect, right?
Absolutely. So you have safety scandals, you have plummeting sales, you have greenwashing issues where they could no longer say that they were made in the United States because the Federal Trade Commission had ordered them to be transparent about where their products were actually coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Instant Brands, which is now a part of Pyrex, they got lumped into all of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure as part of a bigger conglomerate, you streamline manufacturing and probably are using similar plants for multiple things.
So this was 3 months before their first bankruptcy. In what year was bankruptcy number one? Was it 2021?
I think it's 2021. Yeah.
Was it?
I believe so.
No.
Or 22.
23.
23. Wow.
So in June of 23, Instant Brands filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is Chapter 11 is restructuring of debt.
Trying to restructure that debt.
Mm-hmm. So in November of 23, Instant Brands was named as a standalone company, right? So I guess they tried to separate it out under new ownership of so Center Lane Partners. It sounds like another.
So maybe they sold it to another private equity?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, right? And then in 2024, the bankruptcy court approved the restructuring plan.
Okay.
Right. So Robert Wang, he was the founder, but he was no longer the head of the company, running the company that he created.
Yeah, and Instapot's still around. You can buy it at Target. It's no longer just direct to consumer.
Can you?
Yeah, it's now sold through stores, which it can be a positive and a negative. Like I think when we look at some of these, the direct to consumer model has extremely low overhead, right? You're able to have higher margins because you're not giving away margin to these stores.
Yeah.
You may have lower sales, but if you can master that direct to consumer and and you're happy with those revenue targets, like it's a great model.
I feel really bad for the founder.
I feel somewhat bad for the founder. I mean, I'm sure he got a large portion of that $615 million, so I don't feel all that bad.
But but still, it's the quintessential story of private equity. They come in, they give you some money, and then they drive your company into the ground.
Well, I mean, I
Or
imagine,
they kick you out as CEO
yeah, I think
and try to run it and have
most private equity, the playbook is not to lose money and kill companies, right? The playbook is to buy the company, either grow it through investment or, merge it with other companies and get economies of scale and grow it that way. So that's how they're successful. But with every one of those successes, there's often, you know, failures like this where it doesn't work.
Mhm.
And, because I think a lot of people get hung up and you think that there's this magic formula and people have this crystal ball and you go through that room where, the door's shut and there's all these smart guys in there and they're the ones that figure it out and they have this magic formula that works. And when you get back there, you realize they're no smarter than you and they are going with their intuition. They're running spreadsheets and jujitsu just like anybody else, and they're trying to make the numbers work and they're negotiating. And it's just people.
Yeah.
It's always people at the end of the day. And you think that it's this magic thing that happens, and it's these guys know what they're doing. They never lose. It's not true.
Don't tell the secrets, babe.
Oh yeah, and people get emotional, and people make purchases based on emotion, even the ones that you wouldn't think would be.
Yeah. I think this is just what happens when you build something so good that nobody ever has to replace it.
Yeah, I think it's a couple facets to the story, right? One is that private equity, story of, hey, be careful who you sell to, and
Yes.
especially if you have a rollover. I mean, my advice to everybody is, if you get an acquisition and you have a rollover, just you have to be 100% comfortable with your upfront cash.
Mhm.
I would say whatever the rollover or the earnout is strictly upside.
So are we on a 50-50 basis, right, with earnout that we got versus earnout that we haven't?
With what? No, I mean, in my first company, we got about 70 to 80% of the earnout, which was really good.
Okay.
And then the rollover in the second company is still TBD.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
yeah, so it's interesting to see. Like, so I would say you got to make your peace with that. And then the second being, be careful who you sell to if you have aspirations of, continuing to run. So if you sell to private equity with the hope that I'm going to ingest capital, I'm going to have a bigger empire to be able to grow this thing and achieve my goals,
Yeah.
make sure you have the right private equity partner to do that. And then I think when you peel the onion back on the story a little bit more, you can look at the business overall. I think what he had built was a fantastic business, but to your point, it was
Too good?
too good. The product was great. It never broke. And so people didn't need to replace it.
Minus the few that exploded.
But that was later. But I'm saying up front when he was building it, it was a superior product. It
Yes.
didn't degrade and you didn't have to replace it. So if you don't have to replace the product, your psalm eventually, do you saturate it to the point where you can't continue to grow at a double digit, top
Yeah.
line, sales growth run rate. And if you can't, then what else are you going to sell them? So that was kind of single threaded what he sold.
Yes.
There was like, oh, we sold, I don't know how you would sell anything around InstaPot. So
I know.
maybe there's this
Ki
cleaner, or maybe there's some way in which you serviced it or you had add-ons to it,
We should ask
like
ChatGPT.
shelvings or something. I don't know. But if you look at the models of super success, right, and you wouldn't think it, you'd be like, oh, and you think about it now with like printers. Like printers, they used to give them away. Like
Yeah.
they were dirt cheap. And no one cared about the price of the printer. They just cared about selling you the ink. And it's like the Keurigs. The Keurigs, no, they don't make money, or they don't have the high margin on the Keurig coffee maker.
Yeah.
The margin's selling you these pods forever.
Did that grill ever tap out?
That grill,
The George Foreman
I know, but
grill?
he had, at least he had variations of it. There was
Did
the
he?
very small one for like two, and then there was a bigger one. Then they had
Yeah.
eventually had one you could put outside. They made tons of those, and then maybe different colors, and there was ways to go about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what else you would sell around the Instapot. Maybe you just have to start making other appliances that catered to that same customer base of solving the
Or
same problem of, I'm a busy, you know, parent and I need to cook for my family, or I just need to cook for, my spouse or myself, and I don't have time and I want something that's quick.
or get this, You have a problem, you solve it, and then that's it. You move on.
Yeah.
Why does it have to scale? Why do you have to innovate more?
You don't
Why
always.
can't you just be happy with the fact that you've solved this problem for millions of people and you've sold a ton of product and you made a little bit of cash and then you go about your merry way?
Yeah, you made a lot of cash, most likely.
I mean,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Just be happy.
Right. That's the hardest thing that
You know,
most people have. is
The
to be
private
happy where
equity,
you at.
the private equity thing got me. It just reminded me of. Do you know the cupcake store Sprinkles in the Washington D.C. area,
I've heard of it. I don't
right?
know it.
And
Yeah.
they sold to private equity, and then 10 years later, Sprinkles laid off a lot of. I think they laid off a ton of employees and closed down a bunch of different physical shops,
Mhm.
right? Brick and mortar. They closed all their brick and mortar stores. And the original owner of Sprinkles posted something about it on social media, but she hasn't been involved with the company for at least 5 years.
Right.
The wolves came after her. Like, why are you? This is your fault. Why did
sold
you?
it, yeah.
She sold it.
Yeah, it's no
Right?
longer her creation.
It's no longer her baby. She
Yeah.
wasn't in charge of it. So I think being penalized for it or being accused of doing something wrong because you were sad it closed down, like,
Yeah. No, you can be both things can be true. Like she can be sad as the owner that it closed down, but at the same time, no one's got alligator tears because you clocked a multi-million-dollar check, right? Or $100 million check, and now you're boo-hooing because it is no longer in operation.
fine, whatever. Just poo-poo my idea.
No, I'm just saying they can both be true. Like she can obviously be sad for it,
Yes.
but other people could be like, yeah, you got your money. So
Yes.
it's like,
Okay.
I sold my car and then someone else was driving my car and they got in an accident. Oh man, I'm sorry for my car. My car, I used to love that car, and now it's been in an accident. Right? But you sold it. It's not yours anymore.
If somebody crashed your Lambo, you'd be sad.
They probably did. I don't know. It's gone. Once you liquidate the asset, it is no longer your asset. It's off the balance sheet. It's gone. It's not yours. Don't think
So,
about it. Don't waste energy on it.
boiling this episode down into one sentence, don't make your product too good and don't sell to the wrong people.
That's true. Yeah, I like it. Soundbite. Print it.
Anything else to add, baby?
Subscribe if you like this. See, I'm just gonna start throwing it in. I should have just weaved it in somewhere.
You should have.
If you like InstaPot, if you're a pothead, subscribe.
Oh my gosh. Subscribe and we'll send you an InstaPot.
Hopefully not one that explodes.
Low barrier to entry. Thank you for tuning in to Married to the Startup. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us reach more people and keeps the conversation going. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, drop me a message. I love hearing from you guys. Until next time.